Hi everybody, Puffin here. Thank you for watching. I was having a conversation yesterday about religion, specifically Christianity, and Jesus and government, specifically American government, but generally about these things. And I didn't really feel like I got heard and got to say what I wanted to say. So I thought, you know what, I'll take it to YouTube. And I had an idea of kind of like a crowdsourced sermon where I'll preach at you through the phone and you can preach back at me through the comments, and we can kind of crowdsource this topic. Just a little bit of context for it. I was talking about the scene in the Bible where Jesus is in the temple, and he overturns the tables of the money changers and chases them out with a whip. So just for reference, I brought a Bible that hasn't been opened yet, so I was going to go ahead and open that and start looking for the phrase while we talk that's never been used. So a brand new Bible will serve for this purpose, and it looks like it's a King James version that I got at the Dollar Tree. So I was lucky to find this, thanks. And if I can just open it up. Anyway, while I'm looking for the verse, because it might take me a minute, I wanted to give you an idea of what I was talking about. And first of all, I wanted to say that, let's see what I turned to. Hebrews, 1 Peter, okay, I think I need to go back a little bit. Colossians, Galatians, Corinthians, I'm guessing it's going to be in, well, we got somewhere in Acts. And when they had heard these sayings, they were full of wrath and cried out, saying, "Great is Diana of the Ephesians." Which, that sounds interesting. I'll have to read that some other time. This is where that's where the marker happened to be. So I always take things like that as like a sign. So that's the thing that I happen to look on. "Wherefore, if Demetrius and the craftsmen which are with him have a matter against any man, the law is open, and there are deputies, then plead one another. The law is open. Come in, we're open," is the shirt I chose to wear for this. So I didn't think I need to go back to John or... Anyway, it might take me a minute to find this. There's Pilate in John. I don't even know if it's in John. So I have to kind of scan around, which maybe I'll have to come back for the verse part of this, and for this video I'll do Judas saith unto him, not Iscariot, Lord, how is it that thou wilt manifest thyself unto us, and not unto the world? Jesus answered and said unto him, If a man love me, he will keep my words, and my Father will love him, and we will come unto him, and make our abode with him. That's kind of what I was getting at, so nice to have turned to that part, because kind of the overall point that I was trying to make in this. If a man love me, he will keep my words. So what does keeping someone's words do? Like, I have a copy of a book. That's a form of keeping a word. But the implication seems to be do what I say to do. Do the things that I've said to do. And the interesting thing about Christianity, the unfortunate thing about Christianity in America, is that there aren't the examples of doing what Jesus says to do. There's a lot of interpretation. Like, let me take a step back and say, if the ultimate message of Jesus and Christianity is love, and Christians in America, many of them, have found some way to interpret the words or messages to say, hey, we are the ones with the codes of who to hate, then they're wrong. You know, they're actually outside of the religion. Now, I am personally outside of Christian religion. I left the Christian religion as a kid. So if if that means you don't want to listen to what I have to say about things, that's fine. But in America, and probably in other parts of the world, Christianity is divided into denominations, different groups, that some of them don't listen to other ones anyway. So it's kind of like, take it for what it's worth. Are people keeping Jesus's words, and therefore should you listen to them, whatever they call themselves? Or are they calling themselves Christians in lieu of actually keeping Jesus's words? Is the ultimate point I wanted to make. Now, the situation I wanted to bring up with the money changers, and again, I might have to find that. Well, I'll try my luck and see how long this recording lasts with the memory on my phone. But does Jesus want us to do the same thing? Does Jesus want us to chase money changers out of the temple? And what does that mean today? For one, I wanted to point out that Jesus does this and sends a message, and this is one of the standout parts of the Bible where Jesus is kind of violent. I'm an anti-violence person myself. I believe in nonviolence, and I believe Jesus and love stand for nonviolence almost entirely. This is a kind of violent episode or exception to that. So on the one hand, I want to say that while yes, Jesus does overturn the money changers and chase them out of the temple with the whip, he doesn't chase them down and hunt them down forever. He doesn't make that his new mission and say, hey, all money changers everywhere, we're going to get them. But it sends the message to maybe kind of do that ultimately. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't have to commit to one cause or another cause. He can be the spark to start other people for these causes. Now, how do we interpret this in America today? The idea that I have, even though in America we worship many goddesses and gods, or no God, or worship nothing, in America people do have all sorts of forms of worship, like you wouldn't believe it. And I'm sure the same is true in like India and some other places too. We have no idea the depth and variety of people's beliefs in different parts of the world that we're not familiar with. But in America, we've got some interesting stuff. Now, there's an overall Christian-esque type of attitude and way of talking about things in America. I noticed this a lot after the Trump insurgents stormed the Capitol, tried to seize the Capitol, that the way the politicians talked about it was about the holy sanctuary of the Capitol, and even seeing the footage of the Capitol, even seeing the way the rioters were acting when they got him, they go, oh, wow, look at this space. I think I mentioned in another video how it's, the transformative religious effect of architecture that was employed and used for these buildings, just like it's been used for religious buildings. And it has an effect. It has a meaning and a power to it. And it connects to real spiritual power, I believe. And again, this is crowdsourced sermon. Please leave comments and your ideas about things, clips to other videos or information, so we can get this kind of discussion going. I really appreciate it. Thanks. But my idea, having stepped outside of this at kind of a young age, but still kind of kept up with it, and having been, taught some things about Christianity as a kid, and then even going back to school and learning some more things in college, stuff like that. I kind of have an outsider perspective, but I also believe in Jesus. I believe in keeping the words of Jesus. So I believe whether the fact that I don't call myself a Christian doesn't make me less Christian. And in fact, when I see people contradicting the words of Jesus, I feel like, well, that's the reason I left. I was like, well, this isn't what it's supposed to be. And I saw that when I was like 11 years old. So my point is to not justify my decisions as a kid, but to help redeem and fix that religion, because so much of it has gone so wrong. And the reason that it comes up to me to think of Jesus and the money changers is that it's not just that it stands out, but it's what it means. But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, shall teach you all things and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you. This is really the stuff that I'm getting at. This is John 14, verse 26, I think, and that I just read to you. And this is a whole lot of red, which is words of Jesus in here in this particular edition. So it's tempting to just read anything that shows up in red, but I was looking for that story. The reason I focus and want to read that, and that jumped out to me, I believe, is because it's the idea that what Jesus did and said has meaning. It has meaning as an instruction, as a lesson, as a way of thinking about things. And when people reject or reinterpret that meaning to their own ends to change the actual meaning, that's going to be bad. So that's the situation we're in now, which is why it comes to mind for me when thinking about the American government to think about Jesus throwing the money changers out of the temple. John Ossoff, the Democratic senator who was just elected from in Georgia, is one of his crusades is to remove lobbyists and remove stock trading from politicians. The politicians can't trade stocks. Now, his opponent, Kelly Loeffler, had made some billions of dollars in stock scams, during the campaign. And so had another Georgia official, maybe the governor, I'm not sure. But so this was like a thing that was going on while the campaign was going on that became an issue for him, even though he may have already had this perspective. But he's the first Jewish senator from Georgia. Jesus was Jewish as well. It makes me think about that connection being get the lobbyist or get the stock trading out of government. Now you say, well, Jesus was in a temple. He wasn't in a government building saying, let's keep this pure. But the way Americans and even our government officials phrase their speeches about I realize I have a lot of time on this, so excuse me if I keep going. The way that Americans phrase their speech about our government, these hallowed halls of government, it is a religious mixture. There's a religious element to many of the ways people feel about America. From a Christian perspective, from a lot of Christians' perspectives, it's the city on the hill, light to the world, same type of concept of Christianity in general in a government nation type of thing. To other people, it's the same thing. There's a whole lot of religious liberation no matter what religion you believe in. And the best of Americas can stand for liberation from tyranny and oppression and bad things anywhere around the world, like the place that you can immigrate to. You remember that part? So they tried to cut that out. They tried to fascist that out and, shift it to some corruption of Christianity, which is very, very bad. And so many people have been sucked into this corruption of Christianity. And that's what the money changers changing money in the temples represent when Jesus throws them out. He kicks them out. So I'm bringing this up in conversation yesterday, and I don't feel like I got to make my point, so I want to make it now. That if Jesus says, throw these money changers out, then for one, it means let's go ahead and kick out lobbyists. Let's stop having lobbyists at all. Let's not have the influence of lobbies on our government. Let's not have the influence of people in government being able to trade stocks. They do occasionally bust somebody for insider trading or whatever related to a government official or even a government official. But let's, cut that out as hard as you can so that, until it's gone, because you can't actually stop things. This is where the conversation began, is my idea that if you can make an example of some of these political leaders, then the other ones can change. You actually can have a good government. So my real problem with this kind of fascist, corrupted Christianity is this idea that, well, we're above it all. We don't have to deal with the day-to-day and the politics and stuff like that. We're above politics. Well, you can't be above politics. You have to recognize, even if it's not coming down to voting and getting people to vote and stuff like that, what we do has political dimension. What we believe and say and how we act has political dimension. Whether we tip people or not, for instance, has a political dimension. So, and tip people, like as I say when I tip people, it's the socialism we can have since we're not allowed to vote for the one we want. So it's like, do all the good stuff you can do, but believe in a good government. If we have democracy that is government by the people, but we believe that fundamentally government stinks and it can't ever work, then it's kind of like saying we believe that we fundamentally stink and can't ever work, that we're flawed, terrible human beings. And that fits in with a lot of Christian belief, that people who call themselves Christians and believe, well, we're all just, sinners and only Jesus can save us, stuff like this. Well, there's a way that Jesus is trying to save everybody through other people and not always in a robe. I'm watching The Umbrella Academy. And I don't want to spoil the second season too much, so you can pause this video or whatever and catch up if you don't like spoilers. But the first season is basically about, or even the first season, I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's like, again, pause the video, come back and watch it after you've watched some if you don't like spoilers. But there's basically a agency which is trying to ensure the apocalypse. Now this is a personification, they put it into like a management corporate context this of heaven, or of the God system in Christianity. This is saying like, well, if people were running this whole God thing behind the scenes, is what it would look like. Or if we personified some of the scariest, weirdest ideas about the Christian God wanting to punish everybody and destroy the world, then this is what it would be like. And so it really kind of got me going, and I really felt like I needed to have this conversation, like a spiritual level conversation about this type of stuff. And it makes me think about Jesus throwing the people out of money changers out of the temple. And it makes me think about comparing the temple to what they claim or would like to position our halls of government as being: the city on a hill, like beacon to the world, in whatever context, just doing good, whether you call it Christian good or Buddhist good or witch good, good witch magic, good fairy magic is what I participate in. All of these things are part of a spiritual life, that being able to have a country where all spiritual life is encouraged and can flourish, that's good. And that promise has been good all the time. Now, the people that say, hey, that only means one, that means our interpretation must dominate, that's bad. Like, we know that's bad. And they had a big turn at it. They had a big spin of the wheel last time around with Trump to get everything their way, and it was all bad. So you throw them out. And I saw some Pharisees. The Pharisees therefore said among themselves, perceive ye how ye prevail nothing? Behold, the world is gone after him. That's John 12:19. And I'll try to find it still. I think I have time. But my point from bringing this story up is to say, if like John Ossoff, you want to kick stock trading out of the government, out of the holy halls of government, you want to kick stock trading out, do it. That's Christ-like. That's a good thing. That's a good policy. What are some other ways that you're whipping these people who have been preying on the public and taking advantage of the system all this time? The Redditors trading and spanking the hedge fund through GameStop stock last week is an example of that. And just like the math, bro, like these people who took $50,000 and turned it into hundreds of millions of dollars because they organized and saw the flaw, worked the flaws for themselves, instead of letting the people, the established parasitic corporatocracy work the flaws on everybody. So now they have that type of stake. Instead of a $50,000 stake, they have like a $150 million stake or $2 billion stake or whatever. They can twist this economy around like however they want. And thankfully, there can be good people involved in these, more revolutionary efforts. Ironically, making the Robinhood app live up to its name, that they robbed all the rich and gave to the poor, but they shut it down, or like the whole thing's going to implode around that, and they're going to keep doing it. So it's like my idea of wokens, the cryptocurrency that can only be used for woke businesses, for environmentally sensitive, socially conscious, good businesses. And the fact that you can make a cryptocurrency that takes advantage of everyone's enthusiasm and desire and hope for the future, that you're investing in a basic hope, and that cryptocurrency's value and demand and etc. would rise and replace the other ones, or versions of good ones would replace all the neutral / bad ones. Then there could be like a fight between the good and bad ones, So anyway, trying to find the verse. He's walked to Galilee, so I just flipped back a few pages, and I do feel like it should be in here somewhere. And when they said unto him, where is thy Father? Jesus answered, ye neither know me nor my Father. If ye had known me, you should have known my Father also. Just basically saying you've had your religion wrong. Like he's telling them that 2,000 years ago, you've kind of been getting the religion that you claim wrong. So that's why it's like a redemptive, transformative thing. I really want to emphasize the point that we can have a good government. But it's going to take a transformation. Like, obviously, it's not good now, but it can be good. The idea that it can never be good means there will be an eventual apocalypse, and everything will get as terrible as anyone can possibly imagine. But and that seems to be fundamental to people who want kind of an end of the world. They want the world to end to justify, well, we were right. We could have used all this stuff up. We didn't have to worry about polluting things because because it was just for us to use. And so I'm going to come back and find this verse next time. But basically, to say that needs to be thrown out. We need to change. I'll find the verse and come back and then do a video just specifically on the verse. But I've already gone 20 minutes. So just to say, we have to change the way things are. And if you can accept that we can change some people and change more people and change other people, even people in the government, you can make a good government. And once you have a good government, things can be completely different. I'm not saying we have a good government now because we put Joe Biden in office. It's better. We're getting better. But we've got to keep pushing for the transformation of Joe Biden, the transformation of the Democratic Party, the transformation of the Republicans we can change, the transformation of everybody, making examples of the others, but to push this thing into the future where we're all living out the words that Jesus taught us to use. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, but including, if it's a Christ-like action to chase the oppressors out, then we're doing it in different ways. We're doing it with our votes and hopefully voting and passing legislation to get the money influence out of government. That's kind of happened. When you think about it, it's kind of telling that with all the different pressures on people to not support candidates or to try to, pressure corporations to not give their money to candidates. It was January 6th when they invaded the Capitol that all these corporations announced no more money for political candidates. Now, I like to think that was because everybody was so up in arms and excited about it that they all say, hey, if we work for this company, we're going to make sure that this company, like the employees told the employers and kind of, use the power of the people. But I'm afraid that what it really was, well, not afraid because it's a good thing ultimately, is they don't want to support terrorism. Like, they don't want to be guilty of having supported terrorism. And once we start putting those types of charges, and they're going to try to shy away from those charges, they're going to try to make it seem, well, it's okay what they did. But once you start putting those charges on people, then it really does turn this thing around and says, what, y'all have taken it way too far. And we're going to take it for the first time in the other direction significantly. But that's going to include, consequences for what y'all did. So that's where, Jesus threshing people way back when, it wasn't, the only thing you're supposed to do, but you are supposed to do that sometimes when it gets to that point. And this is that type of point in our history and our story that we've got these people who have preyed upon the society and the good nature and the good name of America and the American people forever. And we're finally going to chase them out for the first time we've ever done this. And I asked, when have the officials been afraid of the people, afraid of the power of the people in America? It seems kind of like in the 60s, a little bit, but, not enough that it changed things. I mean, it did change things. They did change things, I'm saying, but not enough that it changed things significantly. I'm saying we can change things for good. And when I say change things for good, I mean we don't go back and we don't, and we just keep getting better. And I think that's the whole idea of living out Jesus's true message that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. If we seize it and make this the kingdom of heaven, we make this world as good by everyone's standards of what good really is, as good as we can. And the people who think, well, I've got a standard of good that everyone hates, probably because it's wrong. You've been duped into something. But we'll talk about that later. It's like the last thing I'll say about the money changers before I actually find the verse and try to go over it officially is, are we supposed to feel sorry for them? Are we supposed to think, dang, that was one time Jesus took it too far. Jesus was just, whoa, Jesus, hold on. Are you sure you need to go there? Sure you need to go there? No. I don't think we're supposed to feel that way. We're supposed to say, right on, Jesus, like he's really fulfilling a need that we can sense even back then and through the centuries since then. Sometimes you got to chase these people out. Sometimes you got to, set some boundaries, set some, and call it what it is. So I think that's kind of what we're doing now in our country by impeaching Trump, by going after these people that raided the Capitol. But really, if we go after enough of their leaders, it can change the idea of leadership around to, hey, it's not about preying on people and see how many people you can prey upon and amass to your will. It's about helping people. The only true authority is in being able to care for people, being able to take care of and help other people. So, the other side, the Democrats have played that card without necessarily living up to it. Again, it's a problem. You got to live up to it as far as you can. You've got to care about people and show it with everything. And there won't be any doubt if you're actually showing it. There won't be any room to question or wait, you said this, now it's this. There won't be any of that stuff if you're going completely for the words of what we're truly supposed to do. So, sorry I couldn't find that verse just now. I just didn't want this to go too long. But I'll be right. I'm going to look it up, be right back, and react, do my reaction video to the Bible here in a minute. But thanks for watching. See you soon. Bless you. God bless everyone.